오케이. 페르소나 3도 끝났다. 이제 다시 하는 똥게임하기. 게임.
You are Comrade Ivan Ivanovich
자막님?
Privalov. In 1960,
잠시만요. 저 자막 켜놨는데 왜? 아, 입이 꺼져 있어.
well, you were selected for the Shukovgrad Interonaut Exploration Programme SSSR. Despite failing your basic physical and being caught cheating on your entrance exams, on the morning of the 12th of April 1962, you boarded a rocket drill containing the experimental device Little Orpheus, with the purpose of descending through the Earth's crust to discover the relative hollowness of the interior and its suitability for colonization.
No, you've lost me, General. Did I do what?
You and Little Orpheus were dropped into an extinct volcano
Orpheus.
to drill to the center of the Earth and find out if we could establish a city there. Note, if you will,
아씨가 아무리 봐도 그냥
that this date is
뛰어다니니까.
over 3 years ago.
자, AD를 눌러 좌우로 이동하세요.
Ivan Ivanovich, can you describe Little Orpheus to me?
Of course. It was large and round and had something of a disagreeable smell.
I was referring to its technical specification.
Well, General, I am no man of science, but it had this radio thing that I was supposed to use to let the surface know I had arrived, and some sort of battery wrapped in this lead box. But I was told to not touch anything under any circumstances, and I did notice the engineers who worked on it were quite a shifty bunch.
와. 베이스 점프. 정령 PC 게임 맞는 곳이.
The Little Orpheus device contained a radio transmitter capable of sending a signal through miles of solid rock. In order to boost this, a powerful energy source was required. An atomic bomb, Comrade Privalov. An atomic bomb that you have lost somewhere below the Earth's crust.
Ah, yes, that bomb. Of course, General. I can explain everything. But it is a long and somewhat complicated story. And let me assure you, this is not a case of milking chickens. But you won't understand where your bomb and Little Orpheus has ended up unless I start at the very beginning and you let me tell you where I've been for the last 3 years.
From the beginning, then. But this had better be good.
아, 이제 진짜 시작이.
Good, General. It's more than good. It's extraordinary. And it began like this.
오르페우스.
An extraordinary sight. I realized this must be the fabled land of Plutonia, as documented by the brilliant scholar Obruchev. A trail of destruction, carved by the rocket drill, led down into the wild and mysterious jungle. The rocket drill itself must have snapped in half somewhere below Kamchatka, and little Orpheus bounced out and became lost in that prehistoric forest. If I was ever to get home, my mission was clear: to find little Orpheus.
원폭을 찾아서.
I steeled myself and plunged deeper into that prehistoric jungle where insects the size of dogs buzzed around.
Dogs. What sort of dogs?
I beg your pardon, General?
Large dogs or small dogs? Big like an ovcharka or small like a barlonka?
Does it really matter?
Of course. Detail is all important.
Овчарка then, General. The size of an овчарka.
I find that very hard to believe.
Would you find it easier if they were the size of a balanka?
No.
오씨 안 닿는지. 그거 뭐냐, 그거 생각난다. 영화 잃어버린 세계를 살아서.
Another part of the rocket drill. But still no sign of little Orpheus.
그 중에서 여기 뭐냐, 지구 내부로 들어가는 그 벽. 그게 1인가 2인가? 아마 1이었을 텐데. 와, 킹용.
Between the trees, I could see huge beasts, larger and more ancient than any known to our modern times. Could it be that Obruchev was right? And deep below the Earth's surface, prehistoric monsters still roam freely?
Yes, but little Orpheus.
안 닿는데? 이것도 안 닿는데? 잠깐만, 이거 어떻게 하지? 이렇게 가는 게 아닐까? 야. 한번 돌아야 되나? 아, 한번 갔다 와야 돼. 어디요? 아, 야, 안 돼. 타이밍 안 맞는 거야. 이게 안 닿는다고? 싫어? 아씨, 이것도 안 닿는다고? 아, 언제 딱 나야 되지? 이거 타이밍은 못 잡겠네. 참. 아유도 아슬아슬하니 타임. 으아. 어.
The terrible lizard intent on making a snack of me was none other than the most awful of the monsters, the Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Oh, now you are an expert on dinosaurs.
Oh, hardly an expert, General. Just educated by the best schools in the world, like all good socialists. And I remembered one crucial thing.
I'm listening.
Well, its greed is without bottom, its hunger is ferocious, but its brain is absolutely tiny. So, it can roar and roar as much as it likes, but it will never be a match for the sharpened mind of the good Soviet worker. All I needed was a plan to outwit the monster.
상호작용을 하려면 컨트롤 누르고 계세요. 컨트롤이 아니었죠. 왜 키는 2로 알려줘.
Imagine my shock and surprise to find in that clearing the last part of the rocket drill. More shocking was the fact it had been ransacked. Someone had made off with the tools, the weapons, the rations, and the spare parts for the Pragviev. I began to suspect foul play. Perhaps little Orpheus was not lost at all, but stolen. All I could do was follow the trail further into Plutonia.
타이밍 맞춰야 되나? 뭐야? 알려줘.
So we all agree this was the
그러니까
fabled
모르네.
land of Plutonia, do we? I don't remember accepting that.
I will admit it might not have been Plutonia if you are prepared to accept the dinosaur.
아 잠깐 키 좀 바꾸자. 컨트롤 누르기가 좀 힘들다.
This isn't a negotiation, Ivan Ivanovich.
General, you can disagree all you like, but there's very little you can do to persuade me it wasn't a dinosaur.
I might not be able to persuade you, but I can always have you shot.
네. 잠깐만 어떻게 움직이는데? 아 여기 한번 쳐다보네. 말도 안 돼 좀 봐봐. 빨리 내려 빨리 내려. 아니 그렇게 기어다닐 시간 없어. 어디 보내? 뭔가 이상한데? 진짜 이렇게 기어다니면 걸리지. 아 먹힘. 아 지금 기어다니는 거 좀 빡치네. 총살 당해야 되는 거 아닌가 이거? 당당히 걸어야지. 이러고 가는 게 너무 아씨. 여기서 이렇게 이러고 갈 이유가 있나? 오야. 중간중간 이상한 거 하나씩 껴있네. 어? 이건 또 뭐야? 못 뛰는데? 젠장 버려. 어? 이건 인정이지. 오. 빨빨빨빨빨빨. 오. 간다 간다. 지금 저놈이 간다.
You hid in an egg.
Yes, General. I hid in an egg.
I am glad to hear your military training was not wasted. If only I had a single legion of men as brave and ingenious as you, with only 100 men equipped with eggs to hide in, we could roll across Europe in a day.
General, are you mocking me?
You are as sharp as you are brave, Tavarish.
색상이. 지금 까딱까딱 되냐 저거. 아씨. 좀 아니. 네, 이쪽으로 들어가서. 얍. 저 오른쪽에 뭐가 있길래 보여주지? 오른쪽 지나가는 길이 생겼네. 나 이런 다시 오른쪽으로.
I couldn't believe it. I still struggle to believe it. A whole lost city, buried in that jungle deep below the crust of the earth. Who would have thought it was possible?
Who indeed? It is, of course, a shame you didn't think to record the moment for posterity and help us all to get over our disbelief.
But I did, General, I did. My training was excellent, and I immediately took out my komsomolets and began to document all I could.
So, where is this camera now, then?
Ah, General, yes. What, of course, I meant to say was my training was excellent, and I immediately reached for my camera, only to realize it must have been torn from my utility belt in the crash and lost forever in that forgotten jungle.
이 정도면 총살 당해도 무지 아닌가? 뻥을 치는데? 이렇게 모든 게 다 아슬아슬하지.
Horrendous beast had returned and was hungrier than ever.
Perhaps it was angry it had been fooled by an egg-wearing idiot.
That is unkind, General. It may have been small of brain, but it was grand of stature.
Whereas you,
무지개.
Ivan Ivanovich, are lacking in both departments.
어,
Please,
어,
do tell me, what was this brilliant plan?
I did, General.
이런 거?
I ran like hell, General.
갑자기 런닝맨. 와.
our intrepid yet doomed hero survive the jaws of the ferocious dinosaur? Will he meet his end, miles underground as an aperitif for a ravenous raptor? What dark secrets could be buried in the lost city of Agartha? Will the general ever discover the location of his lost bomb? All of these questions and more will be answered in the next exciting episode of Little Orpheus!
에피소드 1 완료. 동무 지구 속으로 노예가 된 맹크. 썩은 동화줄이야.
What luck! What a miracle! One moment I was rushing into the fetid tonsils of that horrible monster. The next, I was plummeting downwards to the jungle floor beyond its reach. I prayed I would land on something soft,
Perhaps your head.
but nothing could have prepared me for what was about to unfold. An epic saga of pride, power, and revolution. A struggle for freedom the likes of which our world has never seen. And it happened like this.
아바타. 나비족이 있는데?
Who were those strange, gentle monsters who
크기가
towered above me?
더 큰데.
I could only guess they were the lost tribe of the Menkf, an earlier race of people. But why were they so fearful of those ancient gates that lay just beyond their village? And why did they seem to recognize me? Why?
Yes, I'm also wondering why.
No, a как же, General? Who was I to question such things? Trapped as I was deep underground. I was more curious, I must admit, about the location of Little Orpheus.
You talk of a great city, a mighty power. Yet your nymph squatted like savages in huts at its boundary.
They did. And the answer to that mystery lay beyond my grasp at that point. Because it was a wonder, it truly was.
아, 분리해야 되는 거. 오호. 자, 들어가자.
The lost city of Agartha. I hope I may one day see it myself.
Oh, General, if only you could. Unfortunately, as I shall explain, should you seek Agartha now, you wouldn't find it. It has been utterly destroyed.
Utterly destroyed?
Utterly, General, a tragic loss.
A convenient loss.
I imagine archaeologists weeping as I tell you. But most importantly, before we continue, you must understand one crucial fact about its destruction.
Which is?
It wasn't my fault.
아무 봐도 님 탓인데. 핫둘 핫둘.
Those poor, unfortunate Menkf, trapped and kidnapped and dragged away, only to return as vicious foot soldiers to some unknown tyrant. And yet, there was something familiar about the Shtukovna they were forced to wear on their heads, which I was sure were being used to control and enslave them.
And what was that?
General, it curiously resembled the radio sets I used to tinker with as a child.
Radio sets.
It was very curious.
It was very curious.
It was extremely curious.
Yep. Yep. 숨어야 되나? 방금 굴러오는 거 그냥 기다려야 되나? 떠는 점프가 오쉣. 아니 뭐야 앞에도 있네.
An ancient technological metropolis, powered by a glowing resin, carved from the very earth?
A glowing resin carved from the very earth. Do you see, General?
I fear you are about to enlighten me.
Little Orpheus must have been drained by the impact, but whoever had stolen it and brought it here was no doubt planning to use the Agarthan resin to charge up the atomic bomb, restoring the device to its full potential. What sort of man would come up with such a monstrously reckless scheme?
Perhaps the type of man who has such limited understanding of atomic energy that he thinks an ancient metropolis can be powered by shiny marbles.
뒤로 올리기. 너무 순조로운데? 튀어나와야 될 텐데. 여기부터 튀어나와. 튀어나와. 우리는 거 잘해야 되는데 이거. 설마 들키려나? 이거 뒤에 있어. 그건 좀 궁금해. 집까지 가야 되네. 위, 아래, 위, 아래, 아래. 그린 고블린이요 무슨? 아 저기 그거 같은데? 밑에 오르페우스? 저놈들이 가져갔네. 안돼 내 밑에 오르페우스.
I am curious, Ivan Ivanovich. You talk and talk about this great subterranean city. Yet what you describe sounds strangely familiar. It does in some way bear an uncanny resemblance to the glorious architecture of Comrade Alexei Dushkin. Wouldn't you agree?
Donnet, General. I have never heard of this great Tavarish Dushkin or his works.
Interesting. Because you were photographed on the steps of his marvelous Vysotka na Krasnich Varotach, shaking hands with the Glavny Konstruktor.
That was the chief designer? The sweaty little fat man with the bad hearing?
Mind your mouth, Ivan Ivanovich. And don't think you
야,
can
이거 시간 제한 있어.
distract me by slandering one of the great visionaries of our time. Without him, neither of us would be sitting here now.
Must remember to thank him for that, General. Those enslaved Mink were trying to stop me. I was sure of that now.
I find myself sympathizing with them, I must admit.
No, General, then I have failed to win you over.
Uh-huh. A point of agreement at last.
야 뭐야 이거. 어디 갔어? 여기다 말아. 아이씨. 어디서 막힌 거야? 여기다 왕? 진짜로? 아 사라지는구나. 맙소사. 내 기차가
Must ask again, General. Are you mocking me?
That would be unprofessional, comrade.
I will try harder to convince you then. It is, after all, a cautionary tale of unleashed tyranny.
It is a cautionary tale of unleashed idiocy. Bartley, do continue.
지랄한다.
I stepped from the cable car onto a plateau at the center of the city, where a palace, a vast acropolis, stood. I was reminded of Chelyabinsk Sorok.
May I ask how you know of Chelyabinsk Sorok?
My Aunt Masha was a traveling tinker who married a beef investigator from Zlatoust. She told me of a secret but wonderful city in the west. An edifice of sheer power, humbly serving the will and needs of the people.
Yes, unfortunately, that story didn't end so well.
No. That's what Auntie Marcia told me. And perhaps that is why I was also reminded of it. Because the moment I touched the floor in that place, I could tell something was very, very wrong.
빨리 뒤 봐. 뒤로 안 봐.
The ground had begun to shake alarmingly, and the whole city felt as if it was shuddering. I could only imagine what I would find in the heart of the vast temple.
If it isn't a giant glowing marble, I'm going to be very disappointed.
A huge resin sphere that overshadowed all of the others. I caught glimpses through the twisted architecture. And it was then I saw him.
Him?
The thief, the enslaver, the tyrant, sucking the power from this wondrous city as he drained the very lifeblood of the ancient civilization and drew it into the atomic embrace of little Orpheus. With a song in my heart, I raced onwards to stop him.
야, 그거 내 거야.
Drained of its power, the magical heart of the city cracked, and it sent shockwaves through the world around me. A true monster, General, willing to bring down the mountain itself upon Agartha and bury it forever in his ruthless scheme. I could not save that wondrous place, General, to my shame and regret. But I resolved myself to avenge the Miel, to recapture Little Orpheus, and to bring that tyrant to justice.
아 이거는 좀
Will our plucky yet careless hero fall forever through those unknown skies?
저 사람
Will he
쟤는 왜 떨어져?
discover the identity of the brutal thief commanding the army of the Mength? What chance does he have of ever returning to his beloved homeland? How long can the general's patience last? All of these questions and more will definitely be answered in the next exciting episode of Little Orpheus!
고래와 벌레를 만나다. 오야 많은데.
I plummeted down through that weird sky towards a great turbulent ocean that roared and swelled. A ferocious sea that offered no hope of survival. I thought of home and wept, unaware that in an instant my fortunes would be changed by an event so bizarre I almost hesitate to tell you. And it happened like this.
아 끝.
A
오르페우스
giant
완.
whale?
It was huge, General.
You were swallowed by a giant whale.
Yes, General.
You look remarkably well for a man who was swallowed by a whale.
I am blessed with a strong constitution, General.
아니 뭔데 뱃속에 벌써 뗏목이 있냐?
And I assume you are now going to tell me how you managed to escape from the belly of this giant whale.
Naturally, General. And I must say, it
spit
really
my-
was a fascinating glimpse into the interior life of one of our world's most magnificent beasts. I consider myself a wiser man after this experience.
침 뱉고 씨. 난 간다.
is a shame, General. People can be so closed-minded.
I, on the other hand, have little choice but to hear you out. For your own sake, Ivan Ivanovich, I must urge you to be brief.
Absolutely, General. I will tell you directly of my miraculous escape from the belly of the whale. You simply won't believe what happened next.
That is becoming a dangerously overused phrase.
기다릴 필요 없었는지.
And so I found myself deep within the whale's organs. A strangely beautiful place. A sort of fleshy wonderland. A glade of polyps and globules. A landscape as awe-inspiring in its way as the forests and mountains of Altai. Oh, my home, General, that I yearned and longed for, and only hoped, as I hope now, that I might one day see again.
I think we're all longing for home at this point.
Oh, with warm slippers, a mug of steaming Spitzin, and a roaring fire. Not far from home, trapped inside a monstrous fish with only the strange and evil-looking worms that infested its gut for company. With only one's dedication to one's country and mission to keep one from falling into despair. But no, General, I could not. I had to escape, to find little Orpheus and my way back to the surface and home.
낙사도 있네. 낙사가 있네. 낙사가. 충격. 뿅 하고 들어가는 것 봐. 씨.
Worms, you say, living inside the whale.
Oh, they were horrid things, those worms, General. And most unwelcome, I would say. Parasites. No idea just how rampant their infestation is, nor of the tremendous sizes they could grow to. At that point, my thoughts were only of escape. And I had a plan.
Yes, I'm sure you did.
아이. 오, 야야야야. 빨리 지나가야 돼 이거.
These worms They made your Nivirayathnin whale sick.
Wherever they attached themselves, the flesh began to turn gray and die.
다시 될 것
The
같았는데.
stress inside. And I resolved myself to assist the whale by removing the leeches wherever I could find them during my escape.
이거 양쪽으로 나오는 그런 거 같아.
In my mind, it was a simple plan, General. I would climb up through the whale's throat into its mouth, then wait until it opened it to feed and swim out.
Ah, yes. Brilliant, Ivan Ivanovich. Only one or two minor flaws with it. For example, did it not occur to you that the whale would likely be deep underwater when it ate?
Вы правы, General, but I am a strong swimmer. As a child, my parents would take us to holiday near Irkutsk, where we took constitutionals in the waters of Lake Baikal. In fact, my
Sound
mother
wrong.
often called me her маленький морской кот.
A giant worm for a giant whale, huh?
At the risk of repeating myself, it was huge, General.
The Moscow University Zoological Society may be interested after all. Let us take a moment, Ivan Ivanovich. Your ridiculous plan to escape through the mouth of the whale failing, you would now have me believe you had embarked on some misguided crusade to free it of the worm infestation. To what end, exactly?
When one suffers, we all suffer, General.
Your ideological commitment is admirable, comrade, but...
I concluded that if I could find the root of the infestation and neutralize it, the whale could mount a spirited counterattack against the worms.
오케이. 젠장. 지나가는 거. 다음은 또 뭐야? 또 지나가.
And then, victorious, the whale would surface to expel the remaining poisonous muck and slime from its body. And at that point, I could escape through the nearest convenient orifice. In this case, most likely the blowhole.
That is the most revolting thing I've ever heard.
General, we are Russians. We have withstood the sheer force of nature and history and emerged triumphant. An expedition through the nasal sphincter of a gargantuan whale is nothing to us.
제발. 다시 해야 돼.
And then, victorious, The whale would
중간 저장
surface
따위
to
없다.
expel the remaining poisonous muck and slime from its body. And at that point, I could escape through the nearest convenient orifice. In this case, most likely the blowhole.
That is the most revolting thing I've ever heard.
We are
원투에
Russians. We have withstood the sheer force of nature and history and emerged
근데
triumphant. An expedition through the
후딜레가
nasal
너무
sphincter of a
길다.
gargantuan whale is nothing to us.
어차피 씨 이거 4마리 처치해야 되는데 한 마리 저거 하고 털고 이거 해야 되나? 그냥 씨 감기. 저씨 또 기다려야 되잖아. 안전하게 하려면. 깔때기 없는 애니메이션 맞다. 이런 걸 보고 이제 똥게임을 만들었다. 필요한 애니메이션.
I suppose you would have me believe that the whale was grateful to you.
Well, General, that would be presumptuous. I doubt it was even aware of my presence. But I had more immediate problems. For if the whale might have been relieved by my actions, the worms were enraged.
Worms do
Furious.
worms
Incandescent.
do not feel
Violently indignant.
emotions.
Demented, General. Deranged.
Enough!
그냥 총살해. 그냥 죽여 그냥. 끝내. 밑에 오르페우스
Where
와.
is little Orpheus? Where is my bomb? Unless you are trying to dull the whale's that as well.
No, it did not, General. That would
나
be
안 보여.
absurd.
No, Ivan
야,
Ivanovich,
비켜봐,
you
나
are
안 보여.
absurd. Your story is absurd. This whole ridiculous fairy tale is absurd.
그냥 총 쏴버리면 안 되나?
Will our brave yet foolhardy hero escape the furious worm? Will he be doomed to spend his days trapped in the innards of a bad-tempered cetacean? Where is the whale swimming to in such a rush? And what will it do when it gets there? Is the general about to lose his temper and order the cosmonaut shot? All of these questions and more must surely be answered in the next exciting episode of Little Orpheus!
젠장 그냥 총살시켜. 없애버리라고.
I flew from the whale's blowhole like a supersonic jet. And below me, the ocean became a sheltered bay studded with right shapes. You will be amazed as my epic journey unfolds. For here, it was about to take a most unexpected turn. And it happened like this. was a beautiful but deadly wasteland. Freezing cold, brutally chilling, enough to kill a man in hours.
Yet here you are.
Indeed, General. An impoverished childhood playing in the streets of Omsk during those bitter winters had made me hardy.
아 바다사.
I thought you said you grew up in Altai.
Ah, General, the life of a poor toy maker's family. We had to move from place to place just to find work.
얘 도대체 어떻게 우주비행사 됐냐? 아. 야 지구온난화가 여기까지 씨. 지구온난화 때문에 죽었다. 가면 안 될 것 같은 느낌. 왠지 이쪽길이 있으니까 바로 가면 안 될 것 같은 그런 느낌. 그럼 그렇지. 근데 나는 왜 빠짐? 아이 그냥 빠지는 거구나 이거는 이렇게 하면. 아니 떨어져. 이렇게 떨어지는 거 못해? 하하. 쓱. 지구 온난화가 또 지구 온난화. 네. 아, 네.
Sanikov land, eh? Of course, Sanikov himself reported nothing more than a bluish fog on the horizon. Your island may be nothing more than the product of overactive imaginations.
General, consider this. Imagine taking a simple peasant, a pig shepherd, for example, and telling him one day humans would fly around the earth beyond the sky. He would say you were stark raving mad, Saldaphone, a ridiculous Kozyol Baradati, a buffoon stuffed into a military uniform, a pridurak, a чучело тупорылое.
This peasant of yours had better watch his mouth if he doesn't want to spend his holidays in Solovyetsky.
너 아오지.
Perhaps you should return to your story.
There in the cliff, I could not believe it.
와,
A hairy elephant, trapped and frozen in the ice.
아이스 에이지.
mammoth.
No, General, a hairy elephant. Who would think such a thing could be? trudged onwards through the blizzard, one foot grimly in front of the other, blinded by the snow, my nose becoming quite blue. My thoughts of home crushed under the weight of the plummeting temperature.
I am bored, Ivan Ivanovich, and sick to my teeth of listening to this.
빨리 총살해.
Let us speak
제발.
plainly now. You will tell me where my bomb is, or I will have you shot.
I am just getting to that, General.
Shot! Comrade Primal!
빨리 쏴, 빨리 쏴.
Shot with real bullets, fired from a real gun, not some ludicrous Bultavia about lost cities and dinosaurs and mink and mammoth.
It was a hairy elephant.
No! I will not tolerate any more! Where is the bomb, Ivan Ivanovich? Where is little Orpheus?
It was right there. What? It was there. At least I realized it must be.
Where?
There?
On Sonic Land?
Yes, General. Because as the storm began to clear, I realized with a strange excitement and trepidation that I was not alone on Sonic Flat.
젠장. 쏴버렸어야 돼. 아유.
Wait. Go back. You say these lifeboats came from Zarya? A Russian ship?
Zarya returned home, but not with all of her crew. And here were the missing lifeboats, trapped in the ice for all of these years. And it could only mean one thing.
That you are continuing to hang lapsha on my ears.
Baron Edward von Toll. Of course, I remember reading about this tragic expedition at school. We were taught he had died a hero's death out on the icy wastes, searching for Sanikafland. Yet what if, in doing so, he had sailed accidentally into the interior, deep below the crust of the world? A fellow citizen of the surface. I had to try and find him.
제발 쏴.
A dead explorer stole my
Not dead, General, but quite insane. Perhaps it was the loss of the arm or the leg, or the long years in isolation. But Toll was clearly
탐험가가
mad.
범인이었어.
You should have got along perfectly then.
How I wish we had, but no. Whatever Toll's intention with little Orpheus was, I had no time to consider it. I was in mortal peril once more.
목숨 하나 진짜 끈질긴다. 젠장 좀 죽어.
So, you believe that Tol had somehow enslaved the Menkiv and bent them to his will?
I do, General. It was obvious. Why else would they serve him? And how else could they be so different from their free comrades? These odd helmets they wore, it was the science of our times. No doubt about it. Although fused with some strange crystal technology I could not recognize. To be honest with you, it didn't seem appropriate to stop and ask them.
아니 왜안 찍어?
This Tol,
내려가자.
you say he was an explorer.
Yes, General, he was. He vanished some 60 years ago. I remember the story well.
And you say he stole little orphan.
To get home, General. To get home. I think he must have thought he could use the atomic bomb to blast his way back to the surface.
Brilliant, Ivan Ivanovich! And you expect me to believe that a 100-year-old madman not only survived below the Earth's crust, but enslaved his Menkiv, explored the lost worlds, and discovered the secrets of atomic power, all by himself?
A Tsarist general! An imperialist! No doubt harking back to the terrible days before the Great Revolution. And Estonian!
Estonia.
Estonian general!
They are wily people.
The slave mines stretched away into the distance, and I sometimes wondered if I would ever find my way out. But I never gave up, General.
Of course you didn't. You are a hero, Ivan.
No, General, no, I am no hero. I am a simple toy maker's son from Tomsk.
Omsk.
General?
Omsk. You said Tomsk.
I said Omsk.
You said Tomsk.
General, I think I am well aware of the city of my birth.
Perhaps all the moving around as a child confused you.
걸리. 걸리나 이거? 아니 여기 저쪽길이 아닌가 보네. 타임 개싸우지.
On we flew, across the deserted, frozen plateau. I was single-minded in my pursuit, dogged in my determination. I would take back little Orpheus and prevent Toll from detonating the bomb.
Ah, you are as humble as ever, Tavares.
Well, General, you are a great military leader, a great strategist, whereas I am simply the humble son of a watch toy maker, and driven by patriotic fever, with no regard for my own safety. I rushed blindly on.
Will our courageous yet unfortunate hero drown in the depths of an inhospitable frozen sea? Will he thaw out in time to prevent Toll from detonating the bomb? Will the general holiday in Omsk next year? Or Tomsk? Or perhaps both? What exactly is the difference between a mammoth and a hairy elephant? All of these questions and more should almost certainly be answered in the next exciting episode of Little Orpheus!
다섯 개 남았다. 총 9개네. 진행해봅시다.
I thought I was doomed. But a miraculous thing happened, General. I could breathe. It must have been the helmet that was jammed onto my head. It was a strange and remarkable thing.
Some might almost say beyond belief.
아 진짜 그냥 총살해버리면 안 돼?
A narrow-minded fool may indeed, General, but of course you are no Durak. But even as I sank towards the floor of that lost ocean, my journey was about to take me to darker, stranger territory than ever before. And it happened like this.
Let me see if I have this correctly. After narrowly failing to apprehend the mad missing explorer Toll and recapture my atomic bomb in your giant snowball, you fell through thin ice and sank to the bottom of a subterranean ocean, discovering along the way that the mind control helmet you had accidentally wedged onto your head enabled you to breathe underwater and resume your pursuit across the seabed.
혼문화 세상이
General,
이게
you
뭐야?
seem perplexed.
Perplexed? Perplexed is that the keys to my house are not where I left them. Perplexed is the fact my dog will not eat cheese like other dogs. No, Ivan Ivanovich, I am not perplexed.
intrigued then, perhaps.
I'm not sure intrigued is the correct term either. Enraged at being taken for a simpleton. Now that, perhaps, is a better way of describing my current state of mind.
해마. 지금이라도 그냥 원자폭탄 포기하고
It is
총살시키는 게 나을 것
unfortunate,
같아.
General.
Once again, Comrade Privalov, I must correct you. Unfortunate is losing one's car in a snowstorm. Unfortunate is booking opera tickets on your wife's birthday and getting the date wrong.
Oh, was she furious?
That is not the issue! Furious. However, now that is a good word.
장군 개빡침.
I could speak with your wife. Would that help? I could always have a word with her if you like.
I could always have you shot.
Oh, you could. But I suspect she would appreciate the gesture less.
제발 그냥 총살을 시켜. 아. 총이야. 뭐 지나가는 거야?
A kraken. A vast monster of the sea. A giant, humongous, many-armed electrical destroyer of ships and cities.
Electrical?
Electricity flowed along its horrible body.
진짜 개
sparking,
때리고
stunning
싶겠다.
all it touched, flowing like deadly rivers along its awful tentacles.
원자폭탄은 찾아야 되고 이 자꾸 개소리하고 있고.
A sobering discovery. Are you suggesting that the vessel simply wandered off course and sank here? That seems unlikely even by your standards.
No, General, I only wished that were true. The mighty ship showed terrible scars. Signs of having been grappled and torn asunder by some huge and terrible adversary.
That is indeed strange and curious. I am troubled by this discovery.
Might you almost be perplexed, perhaps?
Don't push your luck.
가질 존댓말 나오네.
I was stationed at Sydney Ostrif some years ago. I am only too aware of how easy it is for the imagination to create monsters when one is exposed to lonely and dark places. My men required constant monitoring.
Much like my cousin Pavel.
He was also stationed at Ostrov?
No, he required constant monitoring. He was a devil for stealing eggs.
아,
I was referring to the fear that something is lurking in the darkness. Something strange, brutish, and ill-intentioned.
Again, that sounds much like my cousin Pavel.
왜 안 눌리냐 이거? 필요한가 봐. 아, 안돼. 아, 이 중간 조작이 없어가지고.
I was referring to the fear that something is lurking in the darkness.
야, 안 움직이는구나.
Something strange, brutish, and ill-intentioned.
Again, that sounds much like my cousin Pavel.
뭐 아까는 왜 안 되지? 아, 간만에 잃어버린 색을 찾아서 봐야겠다.
I was being hunted. There was no doubt about it. And escape was all I could think about.
Naturally.
That and duty.
Duty?
Yes, General. After all, I had a bomb to recover from that villain Toll.
How clever of you to remember that.
야, 이게 아슬아슬하게 한다고?
But first, there was the issue of escape. Escape from a dreadful, grasping creature that consumed all it could reach, dragging anything that wandered within it. But first, there was the issue of escape. Escape from a dreadful,
타이밍 잘못 잡아서
grasping
뒤도는
creature that
순간.
consumed all it could reach, dragging anything that wandered within its clutches to a miserable doom. A hoarder of useless trophies and stolen goods.
Once again, Tavarish, I suspect you are pursuing a somewhat tortuous metaphor for capitalism, in the misguided hope of appealing to my political ideals.
아이씨. 안 돼. 됐다.
I was like a mouse, General. A little mouse being toyed with by a terrible cat.
A rather wet mouse,
I was like a little underwater mouse.
being stalked by a giant rubbery electrical cat with 8 tentacles.
Exactly, General.
Good, I'm glad we cleared that up. You may continue.
포기한 거 같은데 이미. 으아. 열리겠네. 이거 열어야 되는 것 같은데 왜 안 열리지? 저건데 저거? 상호작용이 없었으면 좋겠어. 아이씨. 뭐야 이게 왜 걸려? 개반대숭. 여기는 왜 더 안 가지지? 아니 왜 비누가 안 타지지? 저기. 어떤 건 타지고 어떤 건 안 타지고. 마치 별분들 마냥 일관성이 없네요 게임이. 아 씨발. 이 게임은 똥게임 맞다? 이거 뭐 얼마였지 이거? 한 1,000원, 1,000원, 1,000원짜리.
Submarines.
1,000원?
You
1,000원인 거야,
didn't
진짜 무료, 무료.
mention submarines before.
Didn't I? Why? No, наверное, General. Of course, submarines, millions of them. Well, several, at least.
조작감
Any
저거 뭐냐?
particular submarines did you?
그 페르시아의 왕자
Names?
그거 생각.
Numbers?
자꾸
General,
그
have you
느낌 나.
lost a submarine?
I am not at liberty to answer that question, as you well know.
Well, General, losing one's car in a snowstorm is unfortunate, as you say. But to lose a whole submarine, that could be considered careless.
초반이야 저렇게 닿을 게 없으니까 그렇다 치는데. 미세 컨트롤이 안 되니까 지금. 아이씨.
And you are certain it was M. de Veschi Pidishat.
Well, that was painted on the hull, so I can only assume so.
I think I know where this dismal story is going next. You somehow miraculously brought the remaining closed cycle engine online, flooded the torpedo tubes, dispatched the Kraken with one shot, and triumphantly surfaced.
No, General, that is not what happened at all. I did indeed make my way to the torpedo tubes, but for a very different purpose. After all, history has taught us that atomic power is not to be toyed with.
Much like tired, impatient generals, perhaps. Particularly the perplexed ones.
Indeed, General. Or like dogs that will eat no cheese.
아 빨리 그냥 쏴버려 그냥 씨. 우리. 자. 발사.
Will our determined yet disorientated hero end his days as socialist sushi? Will his daring exploits be
사회주의자
cut
초밥.
tragically short by vengeful calamari? Will the general's wife ever forgive him for missing Ruslan and Lyudmila? And just how many eggs did Pavel steal, and where did he keep them? All of these questions and more may or may not be answered in the next exciting episode of Little Orpheus!
게임이 점점 하기 싫어져 막. 아직 2시간밖에 안 했다는 게 충격이야.
I was alive, General. Somehow, miraculously, I was alive. Some twist of fate, some hand of destiny, but I was alive. Strange as this new world was, I knew Toll must have come this way, and it was my task to find him. And it happened like this. The sun beat down on me relentlessly. The heat was unbearable. I was exhausted. Yet I could not stop. I had to go on. For 7 weeks I trudged across the desert. On the second day...
Please, comrade, if we may. I think we can skip the details, unless you consider them to be particularly relevant to the location of Little Orpheus.
Of course, General. We will simply omit the tale of the singing chasm, the oasis of mirrors, the sightings of Toll's Mienk aloft on their pterodactyls carrying parts of my crashed rocket drill over the horizon to Lemuria.
Wait, the what?
Singing chasm?
Not that, but the rocket drill.
Oh yes, General, the rocket drill. But what did Toll want with it? And why Lemuria?
Lemuria?
Lemuria, General.
I am not familiar with this Lemuria, comrade.
Well, that is because it does not exist, General. Or at least, so I thought.
야. 아씨. 막 부유하는데 여기도 좀 개짱.
Those strange crystals seem to exert an extraordinary hold over the stone blocks and arches. When they hummed, the whole city remade itself. Where they were missing, clearly looted by some villainous thief, the city was fallen to ruin. It was like a vast musical instrument, vandalized, and yet still attempting to toot.
How poetic. I'm sure our engineers would be fascinated and baffled in equal measure. If the whole department hadn't been arrested for sedition last week, I would happily convey it to their skeptical ears.
Sedition, General?
찍.
Really?
How poetic. I'm sure our engineers would be fascinated and baffled in equal measure. If the whole department hadn't been arrested for sedition last week, I would happily convey it to their skeptical ears.
Sedition, General? Really? That is unfortunate news indeed.
I am joking, comrade.
우와, 바로 뒤에 떨어졌는데? 1mm, 1mm. 아씨, 가려주잖아. 기어가지 마, 씨.
Oh yes, the
게임
name for
짜증나게
hero,
그래.
right? Which meant whatever
장군이랑 같은 마음이
dastardly
돼가고
scheme
있어,
Toll
지금.
had, it was to be enacted on these burning sands.
And you will explain this in due course, I imagine.
Eminently, General. What you need to know first is this. I have told you already how parts of the devices the enslaved Mienk were forced to wear came from the surface.
Radio parts and so on, yes, from what you have told me. Assuming there were plenty of lost ships in the ocean as you claim, for Toll to have dredged up what he needed to assemble them.
Aha, good. You are one step ahead of me, General.
I said, assuming.
Of course, assuming. Now, as I gazed in awe at the buildings rising and falling around me, I realized that the other major component of those mind-controlling helmets was crystal. Toll had raided Lemuria for them. He knew the city. He knew the crystals could amplify vibrations and waves, and was using them to boost the signal of the radio parts to exert his control over the nymph. Which meant...
Yes?
Imagine, General, what such amplification could achieve when fused to the finest atomic science our great Soviet civilization has produced.
Wait. I do not understand. You said Toll was planning on using the bomb to shatter the Earth's crust to return to the surface.
A tragic mistake, General. They had not recognized the extent of his mad ambitions.
You mean to imply Toll would have attempted to enslave the Russian people? Pah! The will of the Soviet citizen is mighty and strong.
To you, perhaps, as a trained warrior, but consider, perhaps instead, a humble son of a toy maker from Tomsk.
Ah, yes. Perhaps we have our share of simpletons, after all.
씨발. 아, 여긴 도대체 왜 기어가지? 가운데는 왜 기어가는지 이유를. 진짜 그냥 폭탄 찾는 거 포기하는 게 가장 베스트일 것 같아.
The vast pictograms told of a history of wonders. They seem to suggest the Lemurians were travelers from another world, where a mysterious clock seemed to stand.
That is very mysterious. As mysterious as the location of Little Orpheus, perhaps.
Ah, yes, of course, General. As I bravely explored that ancient city, a question was gnawing at my mind. What did it mean that the Lemurians had foreseen the coming of Tol? And who was the man from above that was celebrated as the savior of the Miengf? It was almost as if they could read the future in their crystals. The bells of Lemuria tolled and tolled, a roaring symphony, a crescendo of peals that set the city dancing, each note causing the crystals to shimmer and cascade with light. But the sandstorm was no natural phenomenon, and the bells did not ring for celebration. Something was very wrong here.
Aside from the pterodactyls and the Miengf and the dancing stones and the ancient magical prophecies and the crystals and now the giant bells, you mean?
If you don't want me to continue, General, then I can easily just quietly go home.
Don't think Chepucha will get you out of this one, comrade.
이거 잠깐만, 이거 어떻게 해야 되지? 잠깐만, 이거 좀 여긴가 보네. 두 개가 들고 있었어. 아니 왜 가다 아 씨발 개똥게임 진짜. 그래도 다행히 여기부터네. 아우 씨발. 가다 왜 멈춰? 근데 그거 한 발자국이 또 이럴 수가. 아 진짜 우주비행사 어떻게 됐냐 얘. 야 처음으로 된 거 아니야 이거?
I raced through those magical structures, a righteous fire in my heart. I was like Dobrynya Nikitsch, prepared to strike at the dragon who threatened my homeland.
Your heroism is only surpassed by your modesty.
On the contrary, General, I chose Dobrynya carefully. Like him, I am a simple peasant. It was fate that chose me to descend to the Earth's core.
It was General Komanin who chose you to descend to the Earth's core. But don't let that get in the way of your story.
Well then, Award General Polkovnik Kamanin, the
상자.
highest medal in the world.
He already has several of those.
I cannot take credit for his wisdom in sending me.
특히 이딴 사람을 우주빙사로 뽑을 수 있지. 내눈. 알고 내눈.
What was once a rocket drill ship, built to burrow into the earth, was now a mighty vessel, repurposed to blast off into the skies.
어쨌든 저 로켓 타러 가자고. 씨. 저 로켓을 내가 타면 되잖아. 근데 왜 이상한 거 달려? 드리구나.
There was no doubt the toll was headed for the strange world with its clock, although to what end was yet to understand. But there was no time to consider, no time for questions. Toll was on the rocket. Little Orpheus was on the rocket. And wherever they were headed, I must head there too, to thwart his plans, recover my drill, and save the world!
응?
Will our enthusiastic yet disorientated hero be burnt to a cinder by the rocket's engines? Will he be smashed into the rock that surely must be beyond the Lemurian skies? Does Nikolai Petrovich Kamanin really need any more medals? What was the strange clock, and what could it all mean? All of these questions and more will be answered if you're extremely lucky in the
펼쳐질
next
수도 있습니다.
exciting episode of Little Orpheus!
7 7, 8, 9
Laika!
Are you stark raving mad?
It was Laika! I am sure of it! That spirited little dog saved me!
Laika saved you in her little space machine.
확실히
I
미쳤군.
believe the correct term is capsule, General.
Don't push your luck any further, Ivan Ivanovich. I fear it might snap.
Oh, my apologies, General. In my excitement to explain what I discovered on the far side of the Metagalacticus Interiores, I got carried away. And it happened like this.
A rocky moon at the center of the Earth.
The source of all creation, General. A place where time flowed like rivers, and boulders of raw matter rained like comets upon the cratered rock.
Another miraculous escape from death. Another happy accident.
It was no accident, General. Laika took me there entirely deliberately. I'm sure of that. She continues to be a heroine and a savior and protector of our great nation.
Laika died in orbit.
No, General, she did not. She's very much alive and happy, and currently living several miles below our feet.
Laika is dead, Ivan.
She most certainly is not, General.
날 데리고
This
가는
is the real world, Tavarish. A world where you did not go to the center of the Earth, and Laika died in orbit.
In my world, General, Laika is still alive.
A better world, some may argue. Very well. I will
포기했어.
live in your world for a while longer, but time is running out.
Ah, yes, time, General. I was just coming to that. There in the distance it stood, enveloped in a mighty time storm. The world clock, General. The beating heart of all history. The Axis Mundi, the pillar of the world.
Not enough to conquer Russia by drilling back to the surface with his magical mind-controlling atomic radio set, then.
No, General. You see, what if he could fuse little Orpheus directly with the world clock? Then his message would radiate with every tick and every talk. He would not simply be the Tsar. He would be the Tsar of all time, the eternal tyrant, the literal incarnation of everything our glorious revolution stood to overthrow.
Sonikiv!
Uncanny, General. But it was somehow different. I felt no cold. The waves were motionless. Indeed, it was as if I had stepped free of those rivers of time and stood on entirely motionless ground. And there in the distance,
What?
debris from Tsarya and tall slave mines had washed up here, almost as if I were meant to find it. And there, amongst it, the winking of steel led me to a blasting cap, and a plan began to form.
또 뛰어야 돼.
The terrain was ferocious. Explosive eruptions of fire and heat. Thunder.
잠깐만 나 물 좀. 자, 계속 가봅시다.
emissions and lethal gases.
Much like your cousin Pavel, perhaps, as a result of consuming all of those stolen eggs.
Ah, General, you have been listening after all.
씨. 아우 손가락 아파. 씨.
Agartha again.
계속 누르고 있으려니까
But
손가락
why?
아파. 씨.
You are stalling, comrade. The clock is ticking.
Tick tock, tick tock. Of course. In a flash of inspiration, I understood. It was all wrong, you see, General.
That we can agree on.
We should never have gone to the center, because without little Orpheus, Toll could not have become the tyrant he had. The rocket drill was his means to reach the world clock, but it was little Orpheus that enabled him. And the time itself, the world clock itself, was determined to make matters right.
With a little help from you, of course.
Merely a simple pawn in a game played upon a cosmic scale, General. But a pawn who understood that he was being given a second chance to grab a chunk of the explosive resin that wondrous city was built upon.
눈 아파.
And I was back. The mighty river of time roared past me, carrying the weight of the whole of history with it.
Even for you, this is a stretch. Our time is almost up. I have to submit my report within the hour.
Time, General. Time was nearly up indeed. That ancient and magical river that carried me along was surely moving inevitably towards some kind of end.
어.
Enough. No more Privalov. No more stories. No more lost worlds and space dogs. I'm full of it. It is nearly midnight, and you have not given me the adequate explanation for the whereabouts of little Orpheus and the atomic bomb.
But, General, I am about to tell you what happened when I finally caught up with the villain Toll.
I do not care, Tavarish. I simply do not care. You have worn me down, and it is time to call a halt to this. I bear you no malice, comrade. In many ways, I admire you, but time is running out.
Yes, General, yes. Time. Because it was time itself that suddenly appeared to be on my side.
Perhaps the world clock was so impressed with your egg-wearing antics, it decided to return you to Plutonia for a second attempt. I would strongly suggest you cut to the chase.
The chase, yes. The pursuit of Toll and little Orpheus. I stood there with the resin fragment in one hand and the blasting cap in the other, and then, just like that, a clock began to ring.
The world clock?
No, General, an alarm clock. My Slava alarm clock, in fact, given to me by Auntie Marsha.
The one who married the beef investigator.
The very same. And the moment I saw that clock, I knew what I had to do.
Yes, 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 yes. I'm waiting.
A bomb, General. A bomb to destroy a bomb.
So, you decided to build a bomb, eh? A bomb to destroy little Orpheus.
It was a simple plan, really, General.
Yes, you are very fond of your simple plans.
It was the last time I was to see those poor enslaved Mienk on my journey. As they scurried in agitation around the base of the rocket drill, now a dreadful weapon of war in the hands of a madman, I was reminded of my mother.
Your mother looked like a nymph? That is
드립
extremely
박는데?
disrespectful, comrade.
No, I meant I was raised by my mother from an early age, of course. My childhood memories of my father were all too brief.
You are rambling, Comrade Privalov. Time is running out. Diani Rezinovi.
Time will run out for us all, General, will it not? And it ran out for my father on the shores of Volga.
Your father fought at Stalingrad?
He did, General.
So did I.
Well, so you see, General. Perhaps we are just the same, you and I. Perhaps we are all just Menkf in the end.
What possible use in the construction of a bomb could be found in the belly of a giant whale? Were you perhaps planning on using a worm as a fuse?
That would be ridiculous, General.
I would hate to undermine your otherwise entirely plausible account.
You forget, General. The belly of the beast was full of shipwrecks. And on one of them, I was bound to find what I was looking for. Fuse wire.
Comrade, yes, you'd forgotten all about the fuse until I reminded you, hadn't you?
General, your cynicism is unbecoming to a man of your rank and stature.
이 편이 마지막이 아니라니. 이러고 두 개 에피소드가 더 있다는 게 말이 안 되는데. 안 봐도 여기서 끝났어야 되는 것 같은데. 무슨 짓이에요, 뭐? 또 무슨 개소리를 하는 거야?
The clock was now ticking, General. Literally. I was surrounded by time, immersed in it, floating along a river of it on a raft made of history, seeking the next moment of opportunity to hurtle backwards amongst those lost worlds.
I am a patient man, Tavarish. I lost 3 toes in the winter outside Sharkovskaya in 42. A drunken dentist removed 2 frostbitten toes and 1 perfectly healthy one. You may therefore consider me a man blessed with an uncommon level of endurance for discomfort.
I hate visiting the dentist. My uncle Vanya was a dentist, and he was a deeply strange man, notwithstanding the love he felt for his pigs.
어?
What?
여기
He
아니네.
was
길이 여기 아니야. 아닌데? 길이 저기 맞는데? 쉣. 가라앉는 거지 저기. 위로 올라오는 거야. 지금 씨 개똥경하는데 지금. 아. 으아. 발로 올라.
And so to the ocean floor, and that strange submerged city, and those poor lost vessels. To find a shell case to hold all of my scavenged ingredients, the last piece I needed to construct my bomb.
Ah, yes, I have been waiting for this.
General?
Time, Ivan Ivanovich. Whilst you have rambled on and on about it, I have simply bided mine. I am a patient man, as I have said.
Yes, I don't feel I paid enough attention to the story about your toes. Do you have specially made shoes?
Enough! Now I have your full attention. Indulge me, Tavarish. Explain to me how you made this bomb.
General?
Your bomb, comrade, that you so brilliantly constructed to destroy little Orpheus. Tell me how you made it.
Well,
In detail. The type of detail that should present no problem to a man who is actually capable of building a bomb, which I suspect would be an entirely different man to one who cheated on his entrance exams for the cosmonaut program.
컨닝으로 붙었냐? 컨닝으로 붙었...
You are uncharacteristically silent, comrade. Cat, got your tongue?
if I may, General, perhaps just a minute or two to gather my thoughts?
There are precious few minutes left. We have reached our conclusion, I think.
Yes, we have, General. I gazed up at the world clock and knew I had arrived at my destination. Whatever lay inside would see my journey end one way or another. But I had no idea of the marvels that awaited me. And
The bomb, Ivan Ivanovich! Tell me how you built the bomb!
it was a wonderful sight. The world...
It is 2 minutes to midnight, Ivan.
쏴 빨리.
It is time to end the story.
젠장 빨리 쏴.
Let us recap. 3 years ago, you were sent to the center of the Earth as part of a top-secret mission to ensure the delivery of Little Orpheus, an atomic-powered capsule. You promptly vanished until you casually wandered up to Molodiyozhnaya station 3 years later, claiming to have saved the world but lost Little Orpheus in the process. Is this correct?
Yes, General, it is, but...
You are charged with many crimes against the state,
many.
including desertion, lying to a superior officer, and sedition. Any one of these charges bears the punishment of execution by firing squad.
General, you must be reasonable. I did my best. It's all true, I swear. I swear upon the lives of my family.
Oh, do you? Auntie Marcia and Uncle Vanya, the traveling tinker and the pig dentist, or perhaps Cousin Pavel, the criminal mastermind with the unhealthy taste for eggs. How stupid do you think I am, Comrade Devalov?
Subdayu, it is all true.
Maybe your toy maker, or was it watchmaker, Faza, who apparently taught you all he knew, despite being killed when you were less than 5 years old.
I was a fast learner?
You have precisely 1 minute to convince me not to summon the guards, and have you shot on the spot.
A minute? A lifetime. It's all I need, General. I was astounded. My father, I told you, I think I told you, he was a toy maker, and he often played with clockwork parts.
Tavarish.
But this made all those childhood wonders pale into insignificance. And it was fortunate indeed that my uncle, My uncle.
Vanya, the pig dentist?
No, my other uncle, Sasha, had taken me mountaineering in the Urals during my childhood, for it was only by scaling these giant mechanical parts that I would reach Little Orpheus.
Yes, I had been thinking that it seems awfully convenient that you were such an accomplished climber. I don't, however, recall any mention of this Uncle Sasha in your file.
He was a very private
A
man.
very unlikely man.
That was Uncle Sasha's blessing and his curse.
뭐야? 멈췄어. 뭐야? 쟤는 뭐야? 저 뒤에 있던 애?
Those great wheels and cogs
Oh, yeah,
clashed
sure.
and boomed.
아?
Those great wheels and cogs clashed
무서운데,
and
이거. 잠깐만.
boomed.
뭐야 이게? 뭔데? 버그난데? 버그난데? 아이씨.
Let us recap. 3 years ago,
야 이건 또
you
스킵이
were
안 돼?
sent to the center of the Earth as part of a top-secret mission to ensure the delivery of
이거-
Little Orpheus, an atomic-powered capsule. You promptly vanished until you casually wandered up to Molodiyozhnaya station 3 years later, claiming to have saved the world but lost Little Orpheus in the process. Is this correct?
Yes, General, it is, but
You are charged with many, many, many crimes against the state, including desertion, lying to a superior officer, and sedition. Any one of these charges bears the punishment of execution
똥게임이 많다, 이거.
by firing
똥
squad.
게임 그냥 게임 그냥 프로그램.
General,
게임이라
you
부르기도
must be reasonable.
사치다
I
사치.
did my best. It's all true, I swear. I swear upon the lives of my family.
Oh, do you? Auntie Marcia and Uncle Vanya, the traveling tinker and the pig dentist, or perhaps Cousin Pavel, the criminal mastermind with the unhealthy taste for eggs. How stupid do you think I am, Comrade Devalov?
Subdayu, it is all true.
Maybe your toy maker, or was it watchmaker, father, who apparently taught you all he knew, despite being killed when you
솔직히
were
지금
less
대가리가
than
좀만
5 years
있어도
old.
I was a fast learner?
그 중간
You have
지점에서
precisely
그러니까 중간
1
저장
minute to
지점에서
convince me not to
다시 할 수
summon the
있게
guards
하는 그
and have you shot on the spot.
A minute? A lifetime?
버튼을
It's
만들어 놨을
all I
텐데.
need, General.
그딴 것도 없고. 그리고 게임 오래 했잖아. 좀 됐을 텐데.
I was astounded. My father, I told you, I think I told you, he was a toy maker, and he often played with clockwork.
씹새끼 그냥 소리 목소리도 듣기 싫다 이거. 자막이나 보고 그냥 딱 장군이 느끼는 감정이 딱 이거인 것 같아 지금. 자, 이게 왜 뜨는지는 모르겠는데 여기서 멈춰. 야 이거 뭐냐 이거? 이게 버그인데? 무한 반복되는 버그인데 이게? 죽으면 안 돼. 죽으면 안 돼 이거. 잠깐 죽으면 안 돼. 직접 구경. 아 그냥 망했네. 아 잠깐 기다려봐. 리틀 오르페우스 버그. 패치도 아니야. 한글 지원이야 이거. 한글 지원이야 한글 지원. 아 일단 또 게임 사람들 하지도 않아가지고 버그에 대한 그것도 없는데. 중간 저장이 없어가지고 원래 지금 움직이지도 않는데 이제? 올라가질 않냐? 아니 상호작용을 왜 안 하냐? 올라가는 게 상호작용을 안 하는데? 이게 몇 편이었지? 몇, 8이었지, 8. 아, 저 부분 다시 깨야 된다고. 아, 빡친다고, 저 부분. 씨발. 그딴 거 없다고. 있으면 내가 똥게임이라 하겠어. 없으니까 똥게임이라 하지. 씨. 다시 처음부터 시작해야 된다고, 껐다 키면. 아니, 그냥 이 게임 자체가 없어. 그냥 그딴 거 지원을 안 해. 에피소드 껐으면 그냥 다시 시작해야 돼. 차이니즈 어쩌고 하는 것부터 일단은 그냥. 여기 어디냐, 여기? 왜 여기부터 시작하냐? 지원하네? 그래도 똥게임. 씨발, 어떻게 해야 되냐? 보고 걸리는 게 더 웃긴다, 씨발. 그럼 아니, 아까 죽지도 않았잖아, 두 번째는. 첫 번째 왔을 때는 뭐 내가 깔려서 죽었다고 그렇다 치는데 두 번째는 그러지도 않았는데. 아니, 그냥 기다렸다가 지나가야 되나 본데 이거. 오우씨. 아. 이거 또 가로막는 거야. 아, 왜 이래? 왜 이렇게 점프를 못해? 왜 이렇게 아슬아슬하게 뛰지? 저 아니, 1부터 그냥
But
딱
where was Tom?
1편.
Aha! High above, on the clock face, perhaps. With
맨 첫
his
번째 거.
radios and his crystals.
그것만 딱 이제 하면
If
되는.
I could just reach him, I could use
그
the
이후로
bomb.
하면 안 되고.
No bomb. You have no idea how to make a bomb. You have no idea about how to do anything one might actually expect of a cosmonaut.
The bomb?
Ivan Ivanovich!
General?
Time is up. Stop talking, Tavarish. You don't know what happens next. It is obvious. You've done very well. I applaud you for your efforts and your story. It is a wonderful tale, Comrade Privalov. I have enjoyed it immensely. But every story needs an ending. And it is clear yours does.
엔딩까지
need more
에피소드
time.
하나
I
더 있어.
think that even if I gave you all the time in the world, it would not be enough.
이거는 여기
No, General. I can do this. That is, I remember what happens next. I just need to catch my breath and compose myself.
We both know how this story ends, comrade.
But little Orpheus, you haven't heard what happened.
We will find out soon enough. You will be executed, and another expedition will be sent.
No, you cannot. You cannot. We must never go back. You don't understand.
Make me, then. Make me understand. I am a kind man, although you may not believe this. I do not want to have you shot. So help me. Make me understand. Tell me what happened to little Orpheus.
아까 본
It
블레그
was-
Ivan Ivanovich?
It was. It was. No. I'm sorry, General. I'm sorry, I have no idea. You are right. I simply cannot think what happened.
드디어
next.
총살이다. 뒤져라.
It's just a blank, General. There's nothing there. I am very tired, you see.
Comrade Rivanov. Ivan.
You're right. It's over, General. Perhaps you would be so kind as to write to my mother for me.
Of course I will.
You are a kind man, as you have said. And, General,
Yes, Ivan.
was it a good story?
Oh, yes. It was an excellent story.
Thank you, General. I am just sorry I couldn't give you an ending.
Unless...
General?
Quiet, Tovarish. I am thinking.
Unless...
I seem to remember that there were many problems with little Orpheus during production.
General?
Problems with the casing around the atomic battery. Concerns.
Concerns, General.
Yes, concerns. Unlikely though that might be. Yeah, it seems if I remember that it failed to secure properly. A sharp blow could spring the hatch and expose the fragile casing of the bomb to any would-be vandal.
I'm not sure I follow you.
A resourceful yet forgetful hero might, one would think, take advantage of that fact.
But how, General? Where would I find something to strike it with?
The son of a watchmaker would easily find something within a giant clock mechanism that resembled a hammer, surely.
A hammer? Why, yes, General. I do remember now. I grasped the hammer-shaped thingamabob.
Let's just agree it was a hammer, Ivan.
Yes, of course. Let's do that. I recovered my senses, shook my head, and looked about me. In my distracted stupor, I had climbed further up the tower than I ever thought possible. In front of me was the clock face, and I gazed out through it at the sheer expanse of history. And I knew whatever happened next... happened next?
The hand of destiny had fallen upon your shoulder.
Yes, it had. And what an extraordinary hand it was.
바닥 안 보여. 단사판으로 돼 있어가지고 되게 안 보인다 이거. 언제까지 가야 돼? 이 스테이지 만들면서 무슨 생각했을까? 존나 긴 씨. 더 있네. 그치? 점프 못했네. 타고 갔어야 됨 저거. 귀찮아서 그냥 대충 만든 느낌. 아니 8평 9평까지 왔음. 귀찮아 할 만데. 그냥 떨어지는 게 정설이었네. 붐.
And so, Tol was defeated. Little Orpheus destroyed. The bomb lost forever.
Not just that, General. In that moment, time sprang back to its proper shape, and I found myself once more in Plutonia, as the start of my journey. But the wound in the interior sky was gone. The drill was gone. It was as if I had never been here. And they were nymph, free and happy, without the tyranny of toll, free to pursue their simple lives.
But we can never go back?
Never, General. One drill, one metal sphere, one lone cosmonaut was nearly enough to destroy time and unleash the tyrant toll upon our world. Who would think an innocuous beeping radio housed in a ball of metal could change the world so dramatically?
Who indeed? But tell me, what of you? And what of your return to the surface?
I stayed amongst the Mienk for as long as I could. But I came to realize they had begun to worship me as a king. No, General. I am a good socialist and could not allow this workers' paradise to become corrupted. And so I left that wonderful land for the last time.
And then?
And then I walked. For 2 years I wandered, always looking for a way home, through lands and worlds almost beyond imagination. Until one day I emerged, blinking into sunlight, and realized I was home.
Until one day I emerged, just like that? You just found your way back to the surface?
Well, General, it was a little more complicated than that. There were great obstacles to overcome and terrible challenges to face and incredible lands to explore.
Enough, Ivan. Little Orpheus is lost forever. The interior is sealed. You have returned with a story of socialism, triumphing over incredible odds. It is, as I said, enough for one night. Enough for my report, at least.
General, if I may...
Comrade Ivan Ivanovich Privalov, you are found guilty of all charges brought against you and sentenced to execution by firing squad. However, having listened to your story, I believe you are quite mad. In other words, I find your madness guilty, not you. And we cannot execute madness. And indeed, there are lessons to be learned, even in the depths of this madness. Perhaps the Americans were right to send the chimp after all.
So, General?
Get out of my sight, Ivan. Go home. Enjoy a state pension as a madman. Just make sure I never see you again.
Yes, General. Of course, General. Anything you say. I shall be small and quiet.
이걸 안
And
죽이네.
live a life without excitement and...
Out! Until one day I just emerged. Oh, very good, Tavarish. Very good indeed.
Laika.
이건 뭐야? 보너스 에피소드. 이게 끝이네. 세 개의 기준이 끝이고 보너스 에피소드 하나 있네. 해봅시다.
Who's the best space dog? Oh, где моя хорошая, хорошенькая моя, ты просто космическая. Hey, who's the best hairy cosmonaut? It is indeed a
저건
lovely
왜
sunset.
번역이
And it reminds me of
번역-
the skies of Peru. I didn't? I never told you about the wonderful Sky City? Well, it was an extraordinary place. but one filled with dangers. Well, it might have been simple for you to cross it, but you were in a space capsule. I had to rely on my own 2 feet, my noshki. Feet which, I might add, had just crossed the interior, beaten the villain Toll, and helped inspire the Myank to a workers' revolution. Oh, that's all very easy for you to say, but your idea of civilized behavior is licking your own bottom in public. No. My adventures above the clouds were filled with untold dangers, death-defying escapes, and some really quite extraordinarily large Bielaribica. And it happened like this. Weeks had passed since I left Plutonia, and one evening, exhausted, I simply fell asleep at the foot of a strange windmill. And when I awoke, well, that thought didn't cross my mind. I was exhausted after all. This is besides the point, my nosy canine friend. What matters is this. When I awoke, the windmill and the ground around it had been carried high into the air. What magic was this? Что за магия?
번역이
As
대담하다.
unlikely, perhaps, as a suitcase-sized dog orbiting the center of the Earth for many years. Quite. Quick as a flash, Kakmonia, my training leapt into play, and I began to paddle the strange contraption through the clouds in search of answers. It is entirely possible that a miller who owns a windmill capable of levitating high into the air may also own a flying machine. Oh, now you're just being silly. May I continue my recounting of how I sailed over the sky gardens towards the mystical city of Peru? Oh, I must, my moi ushati drug. I must. What powerful emanations! What mighty gusts! What an epic schwall! They reminded me of Cousin Pavel, yes! But whereas his rearward zephyrs could curdle milk and tarnish the teaspoons, these magical wafts only serve to carry me aloft and onwards.
아, 그냥 저거 맞추는 거구나. 저 위쪽에 있는 거. 오.
But something was afoot in the gardens of Peru. This horrid muck staining the surfaces and making my nose curl. Yes, it was positively Pavelian in scent. But it did not belong here. I think I once told you of Auntie Masha's passionate encounter in a cable car with the manganese entrepreneur from Chiatura. Now, Auntie Masha told me that there was a disagreeable stain and smell all around those factories and smelting works. Our industry is not without its dangers. Could it be that the once bucolic gardens of Perun were being corrupted by unchecked pollution? After all, science is a double-edged sword, my bristly confidant. Consider Demikhov. Of course. I apologize. Прошу прощения. Two-headed dogs is perhaps a rather insensitive analogy, but not without justification in this instance. I have seen the blemished lands around Norilsk, but I could not believe that I would find such pollution here. But this was nothing to the true horror of what was shortly to unfold.
점점 내려가냐? 보잉.
That terrible, straszная machina, spewing its poison into the air, had created a monstrous thing. A being. A malignant spoiler of the noble and pure. And it had taken on the form of its prey. Well, of course. No, конечно, I was the prey. The citizens of Perun had clearly long since fled the evilly sentient smog, but I inadvertently wandered into its lair. Oh, I know. Misfortune seemed to dog... Oh, sorry, I do apologize. To follow my every footstep. But no time to ponder, no time to bemoan the hand that fate had dealt me. No, all that was on my mind was escape, конечно. Yes, it was most interesting. The windmill seemed to be from an earlier age. Perhaps this was a devastating warning of the destructive power of unfettered industrialization. I most certainly had not forgotten about the windmills. I did not get carried away. You are missing the point. Perhaps because you are only a small dog. Oh, a brilliant, brave, spacefaring dog, of course, but a small Savashka nonetheless. If you perhaps listened more and interrupted less, I am just getting to the explanation of the windmills. My stinking nemesis was back. But more interesting was the change in the city. The windmills were fading out, clearly obsoleted, mothballed, relics. Instead, a sense of an obsession with power was apparent. Vast engines, terrible machines, ever hungry and reliant on the rapid consumption of fuel, the production of toxic fumes and choking gases. Pride, my pushisti compadre. Pride, ambitia, ambition. The dark side of science. Zemechov's had too many. Don't be ridiculous, dog. Only a durak with the intellectual capacity of a ringworm would think windmills are in any way harmful. Of course, you never had much of a chance to travel. Sarcasm doesn't suit you. You don't have the tail for it. You do, at least, have a tail. Mind you, family gossip maintains that so did Uncle Rabliem. Although it was apparently little more than a stub, and a source of considerable discomfort and social anxiety for him. The question of whether or not Uncle Rabliem wagged his stub is very much off topic. What I am trying to say is that your upbringing on the streets of Moscow meant you never saw the blackened fields of Magnitogorsk. The sacrifices made by the valiant citizens of that industrial heartland, as they drowned in their own blight, even as they powered the state forwards. I was reminded of Magnitogorsk as I wandered through those fields of pipes and foundries. And I wept for the loss of innocence that so often goes hand in hand with progress.
이건 뭘까? 내려와. 어디까지 올라갔어? 야, 안 내려오는데? 내려온다. 게임을 만들다 말았는데? 저거는 야 버그는 그래 둘째치고 이거는 뭔데? 있지도 않은 동아줄을
Of course,
잡고
you
가냐?
never had much of a chance to travel.
미치겠네 진짜 게임. 일단 게임을 돈 주고 샀다. 개웃긴다.
Of course, you never had much of a chance to travel.
이렇게 막혀야 정상인데.
Sarcasm doesn't suit you. You don't have the tail for it. You do, at
이렇게
least, have
막혔어야
a tail.
되는데.
Mind you,
어떻게-
family gossip maintains that so did Uncle Rabliem. Although it was apparently little more
기억이네.
than a stub, and a source of considerable discomfort and social anxiety.
아닌가 여기였나? 아니
The
왜
question of
막히는데?
whether or not Uncle Rabliem
가는 게
wagged
이상.
his stub is very much off topic. What I am trying to say is that your upbringing on the streets of Moscow meant you never saw the blackened fields of Magnitogorsk. The sacrifices made by the valiant citizens of that industrial heartland, as they drowned in their own blight, even as they powered
게임까지
the state
방사능에
forwards.
노출됐나?
I was reminded of Magnitogorsk as I wandered through those fields of pipes and foundries. And I wept for the loss of innocence that so often goes hand in hand with progress.
얼씨구 꼬리 기는 거 봐라. 이 정도면 게임 제작진에 주인공이랑 똑같은 사람이 있다고 밖에 생각을 못한다.
Indeed. I just evaded
스토리 스킵
the
좀.
slimy, oily grasp of that man-made Vadzinoy.
이
His
새끼 말하는
rolling
꼬라지 듣기
stink
싫네요, 이제.
clogging my nostrils and making my head
아까부터 그렇긴 했는데.
and I felt a great stirring within me. Yes, much like I assume cousin Pavel. May he never get loose again. But no, quite different. This was no volcanic upbubbling of gastric malintent. No, it was the roaring fires of justice once more ignited within me. I felt a swell of patriotic fervor and knew the hand of destiny had fallen on me once more. Yes, what a hand it was! I could not see this great wonder sink into an abyss of poison and bile. The Perunians may have been forced to abandon their city, but I had saved the world once before and was ready to answer the call again. What strange metal Bielaribitsa clearly designed to swim through the air? I was amazed. And there was more. Beneath the fins, I spotted the apertures of hoses and was reminded of the time Auntie Agrafina devised a contraption to water all of her copious algae beds simultaneously with one flush of the toilet by a system of pipes and valves that ran throughout her house. Можно так сказать, in a manner of speaking, yes. Her algae were most irrigated, although her neighbor Victor was washing his trousers in the sink at the time and was bruised quite severely about the face and body. But these were no ordinary flying metal fish. They were designed to expel air, fresh air, and push back the polluted clouds. There is, of course, a fine tradition of looking to nature to solve problems of a scientific or military persuasion. Yes, as you well know. My nephew, Sergei... Yes, the very same. Poor lad with his dermatological eruptions. Well, Sergei was stationed recently at Kazachya Bukhta, where dolphins... dolphins? Were being trained as brilliant aquatic agents of socialism. Why not then be inspired by marine life? Why, there is a fish, I heard, that can shoot jets of water from beneath the surface to knock its prey off little tiny twigs and into its mouth. If you were to tell the average mushroom sheriff that a dog would orbit the Earth, I suspect you would receive a similarly sneering response. No, that is because you are a small, hairy hound of uncertain parentage. I, on the other hand, am a cosmonaut, the product of many months of training, and I realized the answer to pollution was here all along. The Perunians, tragically, had simply never had time to finish their fleet. If only I could find a working, flying fish. If only. It made perfect sense, of course. The poisonous Tuhata that engulfed Perun was like a nasty cold. And you know what to do with a cold to rid yourself of it. You may not get colds, but nor can you operate pea-shelling machinery. So don't get ideas above your station. We humans, on the other hand, may produce up to 16 million perfectly unshelled peas in an average shift. But we are martyrs to our sinuses. But to clear them, aha! These are remedies we Russians have been
존나 많네,
perfecting over the
진짜.
long centuries of harsh winters. Onions. A quick snifter of onion oil will clear your head faster than a Pragviev can clear a hypothetical minefield. Yes, if I could find a functional fish, I would become that onion.
퍼즐은 너무 쉽잖아. 2개씩 먹게 하던가 하나씩 먹게 하면 뭐 퍼즐이야 이게? 그냥 상호작용이지. 우와! 또 긴다.
I was close. I could feel it. Yes, yes, the working fish, the ribka. I could feel I was at the heart of Perun, and my noxious pursuer had renewed its chase with a terrible vigor. Not far now. I just had to keep going, keep pushing. It's almost as if you knew, Pavel. Uncanny. Double it. There she was, a beautiful sight, her scales shimmering in the sunlight, her fins poised for action, her onion cannons primed for a great aerial conflict unseen in the annals of human endeavor. And you are just jealous it was a bigger flying machine than yours. No, my bilious pal, it was time for science to fight back. Yes, my hairy compatriot, Paechale, onwards to victory!
별 이상한 걸 쳐놓아. 뭐임? 가까이 있으면 안 되나? 아, 추가 에피소드 하지 말까 그냥? 아, 무조건 때려야 돼.
It was a miracle. I found myself swooping through beautiful clear skies. The strange
자왕님.
interior sunlight gleaming on the sides of my fishy vessel.
자왕님 또 어디로 사라지셨나요?
Birds cleared their little throats and began their wondrous gvalt. The wind gently humming on the fins. And then,
아니야,
all of a
차라리
sudden,
그냥 없어라,
under it
그냥.
all,
개소리 듣기도
well,
귀찮다.
you see, in my hurry, it didn't even occur to me to check how much fuel was carried in the strange craft. With a horrible splutter, the engines choked and died. And suddenly we were plummeting downwards towards our doom. I did not. A simple mistake that many have made. Why, my Aunt Agrafina met her untimely demise being late for a fungal sculpting seminar and making exactly the same error. Only, unfortunately, it left her stranded in sub-zero temperatures just outside Pravachitsinsk. She wasn't found until 18 years after her own funeral, but was perfectly preserved. Remarkable, really. It is beside the point, yes. So, there I was. My fabulous ship had become a terrible prison. I was hurtling to my almost certain death. My triumph turned to tragedy. But then... Well, you know what happened next. Even so, moy machnati drug, that is a story for another time. A most extraordinary story, of course, filled with dangers and wonders, and canals, and invasions, and strange doorways to other worlds. But perhaps too long a story for now. Yes, indeed, my canine Tavarish. Time for soup. Auntie Agrafina's famous borscht. Coming?
끝. 끝이요. 아, 드디어 다 했다. 씨. 이 게임 유튜브 에디션으로 그냥 끝내야 됨. 하면 하지마 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 하지도 마. 씨.